Everyone, welcome to Inside the AI. I'm your host, Doc, and we had a request from n8n. I hope I'm saying your name right, but I finally got to it. You left me 2 comments. This is a AI automation to create a cold call automation, scrape information from the internet, find the company, and start cold calling them with Vapy AI. So I want to show you how this works. I have my cell phone right here. I want to hit execute workflow and we can see this executing and we will see a phone call come in. I have all this saved and now we see a phone call coming in. We can hear it coming in. And hello.
AI, straight to the chase. We just helped a logistics company automate their workflows and they're saving 20 hours. Quick question. What's the biggest manual process that's eating up your team's time right now?
Well, I think some of the biggest processes are the emails I have to send out.
Thank you for sharing that. Manual email processes can be really time consuming and often lead to missed opportunities. Can you tell me more about the emails you're sending and the challenges you do?
So I think you can get the idea. Essentially, this AI automation is going to run, and this automation was a lead generator. It will call and start sales processes. Obviously, we got to fine tune a little bit. I saw some areas where we can improve it. So if you need something like this, if you find value in this content, please like and subscribe. This is an overall template. This is a blanket for everyone, but I will show you where to modify this and where you can improve this for your workflows. If you find value in this video, please like and subscribe. I'm creating a Discord channel where I'm going to be dropping in information and new products. Go ahead and join that community. Also, leave some comments of different workflows. I'm getting a bunch of comments coming in, so I'm knocking them out as fast as I can. I hope this adds value to your day. Thanks. I'm the Data Doc. Stay tuned for the step-by-step process. Again, you can buy this JSON at my website. It's going to be linked in the description below. However, if you just want to follow step by step, spend time, look at this webflow, and it's going to work you through everything you need to do. So now I want to thank you for staying with us in this video. We're going to move into the nodes and explain all of the nodes that we have. Now, it's important to note that in what I'm explaining has the data already pinned to the nodes, which is why these are all mostly purple. There's a few that are not purple. So we have one here, not purple, and a few back here, but those aren't purple for a reason. And some of them don't allow you to pin the data. So that's why. So you just know that going in. The first thing, let's start out with how this workflow starts. So because I'm in a testing environment, I'm testing it with a manual trigger, which means I have to hit this execute button to start. For you, you can modify this and you can start a trigger by time. That would probably be the best one for you. So what you would have to do is analysis of the Google Sheet that we created and the information we collect on the customers. Now, the reason I say that is this workflow is going to have keywords. Now, in this keywords, we have a Google Sheet, and we're going to use the keywords right here. And each of these are a column in the Google Sheet. And what we focused on is the keywords to pass through DumplingAI. And so what we are passing through is the best restaurants in Chicago. And so if we go to our Google Sheet, we see our first column is best restaurant in Chicago. Now we can add another column here, which would probably be a good concept to do, and put completed so that we can track what we've done. So now I can type in here and write yes. And now this has been updated in the fly, so I have to go back and work on the automation before I send it out to anyone. But as we do this, we can update this and modify the next ones we want to do. So you can change this to whatever keywords you want to search in the next results. Just so you know, you can run this over and over again. So now with this one completed, this data is going to be passed through, and this best restaurants in Chicago is going to be sent to the Scrape Google Maps Businesses node. And what that means is this node is going to call DumplingAI. And if you don't know what DumplingAI is, essentially it's like a SERP API or a data gathering API. This specific one that we're using is going to call the Google Maps and gather information from the Google Maps. And when I say that, the information it's going to gather is going to be based off the keywords, and it's going to gather information off the keywords and the map to provide you back the information you need. Now, some important information to note. It's a great service to have because if you look down here, we have 10 credits used out of 240 credits available. So when I show you what I've done, whatever I show you, all the information I've gathered has only used 10 credits of 240. So if you're using this, this is going to be a great point to start. Now, if you combine these with other services, you probably wouldn't have to pay for many services to gather the data for customer lead generation. So now let's continue on. Since you know what Dumpling is now, it's a data provider that's going to allow you to scrape the internet off of your keywords. And now we go into what's happening here. So what we've done here is we've passed through the keywords that's come through, and we can see that down here where it says keywords. So this search is down here. We pass that through. That information is sent to the Dumpling. And now on the right, we see all the information that was provided. So now the first restaurant we see is a one called Girl and Goat. Sounds like a really amazing restaurant. It's on this street right here. Some important information we have. As we scroll down, we have the phone number. And all of this is going to be collected. So what we did in the next node is we're going to split that out. So as we bring that information in, we split it out into different topics. With that information split out from the split node, the next thing I think is one of the most important things we can have, and it's a Google Sheet. Now, the reason I say this is the most important thing we could have is because when I open this up, I'm going to show you what we have. I can go here to my Google Sheet node, and when I open this up, I can show you that this is called the call lead generator. All right. So when I go back up here to the call lead generator, which is my spreadsheet, this is all the information we've gathered in that search. So if I go back to Dumpling, I can see we have 21. I can see I have 20 search results. And if I go back to Dumpling, I've only used 10 credits. So we can say 10 credits for every 20 results. So you can just calculate how much you will get. And that's for a free plan. So that's not upgrading at all. So now let's go through some of the information we're getting and why I say this is important. So first we get the name of the company. We get the phone number, the address, their rating, how many ratings have been assessed, the type of restaurant it is, their website, the description of the type of food or the service that they're going to provide, and the hours of operation. All right, now I've added this, and this is to be updated from the phone call, and we'll go through that at the end of the video. But to go through why I think this is the most important point is, since we have this, we can expand on this workflow. Now, that's not in this video, but what I can do is, if anyone is interested, comment in the video below, and I can show you how we can use AI to review some of this information and make a better calling system. And so if we have it more personalized, we will get better results. So if we can do a LinkedIn search of the Girl and Goat, and then we can search their website, we can identify people who work there, we can ask for specific people, and now we have a better targeted search. And now we have a better, more targeted phone call response with the AI. So that's really important to note. The rest of the information we'll go through at a later date, but now let's continue going through what these nodes are, what's happening. So now let's continue going through what's happening in these nodes. So with that completed, the next node is going to be an edit node. And what this is going to do is it's going to filter out all the information so that we get the phone number, the company name, and the website. All right. So now with that completed, we want to separate the phone number. So now if the phone number exists, we send it through. If it doesn't exist, then the workflow stops. So if there is an event where we scrape some information, but we don't get the phone number and we have a lot of the other information, it will continue to process this and it will drop this from the workflow. Now, the next node is going to be formatting the phone number. So this formatting the phone number is going to make sure that our phone number that came in, it's right here where it has the parentheses. It's going to drop the parentheses and it's going to add a +1. And the reason we have to do that is because that's the way that Vapy receives information. So if you see right here in the top right, Vapy needs it to be +1 plus the phone number with no other information. So that's what this node is doing, and it works properly. The next thing is a very important node. Now, this is going to be where we have to do some modifications, and I want everyone to know this is going to be modified per how you want it to do. So the next node is a loop node, and this is where we run into a crossroads, and this is where I wanted to provide you the overview of how this works, and then I would like you to modify it or ask me to modify it, and I can do it in another video of how to make this work. And what I mean by that is Vapy has limitations. Some of the limitations, we can go there and see that if you go to the phone number, Vapy is limited up to 10 phone numbers. Okay, so I can create another phone number, and now it tells you Vapy phone numbers are free of charge and limited to 10 phone numbers per wallet. Now, why this is important is if you have one phone number, it is free to use it. But what happens is that phone number starts to get used, and as it gets used, Vapy stops allowing you to use the phone number. So what you have to do is periodically go in and delete some of the phone numbers. And so I believe it's around 10 to 12 where those numbers start to be limited and stop being used. So what we can do is we can build out 10 phone numbers. And if we go back to this workflow and I enter my Google Sheet, I see we have 20 people or 20 businesses to call. So what I can do is I can split this 20 into 4 numbers and have the 4 numbers call different numbers in here. So this is where it becomes important to understand the limitation between the Vapy and how we can work that here. So the way I would do that, let me know. I can make a video specifically talking through how to do that. But in this video, what's going to happen is it's going to send one phone number through. This phone number is going to go through here. And what's going to happen here is it's going to call the phone number that is processed. We'll talk through how this node is working. So this node makes the phone call. And once that phone call is completed, it's going to continue the workflow and it's going to access another HTTP node. Now, what this HTTP node does is it reviews the transcript. So what happens is when the phone call is finished, Vapy posts the transcript from the phone call on their website. To understand if there's still a phone call in operation, what happens is this node reviews Vapy to see if there's a transcript posted. If there is a transcript posted, then it says, if it is, then that means that the call has ended. Let's update the Google Sheet with all the information, and then we can move on to the next node. And the next node is a wait node. But if that is over, what's going to happen is it's going to start back over and go down to the next row. So with this one complete, once that workflow is finished, it will go down to this workflow. And it'll do the next one and keep going until every one of these are called. Now, if it is false, which means a transcript has not come through, that means the phone call is still going. So then this is going to have a wait node. And this wait node is a couple of seconds. And then it'll redo it. It'll check if there's a transcript. If there is a transcript, then it will continue on the route. So it keeps doing this loop over and over again until it hits the transcript. If there's a transcript, then it updates the information in the sheet. So now what we can see is the next important information is we start to acquire columns J, K, L, M, N. And what that means is we see that we have the call is ended. We have a timestamp of the call. And then we have the duration of the call. And then we also have the transcript from the call. And so this is awesome information we could use. We can analyze this to see if they're a potential customer. We can score these customers and tell them from the transcript that this is a positive lead. Let's call these people. And so it's very powerful what this workflow can do. So with this completed, I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process of how to set this up. And so you don't have to buy the JSON on my website. So now, if you're still with me, I appreciate your time. Don't forget, like and subscribe. That really does help the channel. But what I want to do is I want to walk you through step by step what we do to set this up. Now, I ran into a lot of issues making this, so I want to share my experience and I want you to understand what helped me and what challenges you will face. So now the first thing I always need to do is I would need to rename this. And this is mostly because I need to know to delete this after I finish. But you always want to rename this because as you build these out, it becomes very challenging to maintain these. Now, going into the first node, I'm going to make this as if I were you working into a new environment. And what I mean by that is the JSON file that I have and the one that I showed you has a trigger node. The trigger node is triggered manually. So you want to use that only when you're testing because automation saves us time. And if I have to go into the automation to do actions, that takes my time away. So I want this to be triggered manually, automatically. So what I would do is I would change this to on a time schedule. And now this is where it's going to be customizable to you because you can do it every day, once a day, call 20 different people. That's a good strategy. And you can do it. You never want to call at midnight. You never want this to start at midnight. So what I would do is, since I know these businesses all open at 9 o'clock, let's see, most open at 9 in the morning. So what I would do is I would go here and I would change this to about 10. No one really wants to get a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning if they're just getting to business. If you want to annoy the people and not get service, that's what you should do. Schedule at 9 o'clock. So now this is 10 o'clock. So now the next thing, this is going to run every day at 10 when you activate it. So you do have to activate it up here on the right once you have the workflow completed. The first node that we need to do is a Google node. So this Google Sheets is going to be what we do for the keyword. Now, what we need to do is we need to do a get rows. And what this get row is going to do is it's simply what it says. It's going to get rows from our Google Sheets. Now, there are many videos on how to set up your Google Sheets. It's not very complicated. I don't want to spend much time on how to set this up. Rather, I want to set up the time to go through the Dumpling API and the Vapy API rather than setting these up. So you can go search one of those videos and figure out how to connect these. If you do need help, shoot me a message and I will send you step by step how to do this. But then from this, once you have it connected, it's really simple. All you need to do is click this. And if you have these sheets saved on your Google Drive, they're going to come up here. So what I need to do is I need to click Outreach Results and then Sheets. And that's all you need to do from this. And if I execute this, we'll see the keywords come through. Very easy. So now with this completed, we're going to move to our next node. This is a little bit more of a challenging node right here. This is our HTTP node. And this HTTP node is going to be a post node. So what we're doing is we're sending, this is going to be a post node. So we're going to change this to post. And now I want to talk through what's happening. So what's a post node? So the post node is saying we are going to post this information to the website we are sending it to. So I'm going to give you the website. So this is the URL. So this is http://app DumplingAI.com. And you can take a screenshot of this. But essentially what we're doing is we're doing a match. We're doing a search of the maps. Now to set this up, what I want to do is I want to go to open this up. And I need to go to generic header. And then I need to go down to header authentication. Now, there's a few different ways you can set this up, but this is how I set it up for this video. You want to open this up and you want to click create a new credential. Now, in building this out, we're going to go back to Dumpling. And to go to Dumpling, what you need to do is, this is going to be linked in the description below. So you can just go here and click on the link so you can go straight to this webpage. You want to create an account. The account's not hard to create. It's going to be single sign-on with Google. So it's very easy. And then it's going to bring you to this page. All you need to do is click create an API. We have one already created, but since I have one, I can copy this one that I already have. But if you don't and you're starting new, you just generate a new API. You want to name it n8n video, and I know I can delete this one. You want to generate a key. Here's my key. I'm going to copy this, go back into here, and then in this, I want to type authentication, authorization. And then I need to go down here, and what I'm going to type is bearer. So this is what you want to type. Bearer, space, and then your API key. Now, obviously, I'm going to put API key here. Then I'm going to paste in my API key, connect it, but I'm not going to show you in the video. So now with this complete, we have our connection and our authorization to go to the DumplingAI. What we need to do is we need to send it the header. So the header, this header is going to be, this is another way you can connect. You can also put your API key in here, but what we need to send over is this right here. So just copy this in there, content-type, and then application-JSON. That's all you need to do for this. Now, the last thing is, this is still helping us authenticate. So nothing we have done so far is to get information back. This just gets us to API. And an API, if you don't know, is just a connection between you and the other server or the other system. Wherever you're getting this information from, it connects you across. So it just is like your phone line or your wires that connect you to your devices. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to send over a body. This body is what you're actually requesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to JSON, and using this fields needs to be used as a JSON. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give it the information that it should request. So now if I give you an analogy and I am at a restaurant and I would like to see the menu. So I've looked at the menu. The server has come up to me, and the server essentially is going to be our API. It's going to pass the information to the chef so the chef can cook, and then it'll come back with the food. So essentially that's how it's working. So now I've already established that connection with my server. Now I need to tell her or him what kind of food I would like. So now what I'm going to put here is what information I need, or what do I want from this service. And so that's essentially what's happening here, so you understand the whole picture. So now if I paste this in, this is what we need to put. And what's happening is we're writing in the query. The query is coming from the keywords. So the query is basically saying we want you to do a search, and the search is on this topic right here. Now, if you see this green, that means anytime this changes, this will also change. It's not a fixed form of information. It changes anytime this is updated. So the next process that comes up, this will dynamically change. However, if we need a different language, so we're searching it in English, English will always be the language that's going to be searched. So with that complete, we need to add redirects. The redirect we need to do is 21. And now this node is completed and it's ready to go. Now I'm going to move this over and we're going to keep this moving. The next row of information, or the next node we're going to do, is going to be a split node. This split node is going to be very easy. All we need to do is put in here places. And now this is complete. That's a very easy node to do. So now what we need to do is we need to take that information and we need to update our Google Sheet. So we have all this information coming in. So we need to take that information and capture it before we lose it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a Google Sheet that is going to be an append sheet. So now what this means is it's going to take that information and append it or update our Google Sheet in the rows. So now I need to take this and I need to click the next one of what we're going to go into. And this is going to be the call generator. So the next thing from that is we need to choose sheet 1. And now I'm going to show you how to map this. And so what these mappings are going to be what the information is coming into and where it should go. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if I have girl goat, I have the title here. I'm taking this and I'm dropping it right into here. So if I delete this whole thing, I can go into schema. It's a little easier to see. I can go to title. I can drag that in and drop it here. And I can do that across all of them. So for phone number, I can take the phone number and then I can take that in and drop it in. And I can do that across all of these. So that's what I would do if I'm working in this. What I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to copy and paste them over so that you can see what they are. They're exactly the same. And what you want to do is click an expression, click the phone number and click expression, click the address. And essentially, if you see, they're all the same. They're basically JSON.address, JSON.phone number, JSON.rating, and we keep going down all of them. JSON.rating count. And this is all important information. And I think some of the important things that we need to do in this field is make sure that we are capturing the data. And, you know, as I mentioned, what I need you to do is go back. And I forgot to click expressions. So you got to make sure these are all expressions. And what I mean by that is this is going to mean that information is going to change every time new information is coming through. So make sure those are all expressions. We only have 3 more to do. The description. Then we have the hours of operation. So now with this completed, this is complete. This is everything you need to put into here. And now we can move to the next node. And the next node is going to be an important one. This is an edit fields node. I'm going to click this middle right here where you can add a field 3 times because I know I need 3 of them. And so now let's talk through what's happening here. So now I have my old one I'm pulling over so you can see as we build this out. So basically we're taking the website, we're taking the phone number, and we're taking the title. So to work on this, what I would do is I will erase these and I will show you how to build these out really quick. So now I go to the website. I just drag the string right here and I drop it in. And basically that's a string of information that's getting passed through. The next thing we need to do is the phone number. So now I go here, I look for the phone number. Oh, I passed it. It's up here. And then drop that in. And then the title was the title of the company. So I'm going to bring that and drop that in. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste it in. And the reason I'm going to copy and paste it is I want you to see it from the beginning. So we do need this on the right side, but we also need to name it. So don't forget to name this as the website. Don't forget to name the phone number. And then don't forget to name the title. Now, again, this isn't important for this workflow as much as it is if you want to expand on it. And what I mean by that is with this information, we can add AI throughout this process. And where we can is we can access the company's website. We can access some other information, and then we can generate information on how likely this customer is and how we can make this more personable, the phone calls more personable to the customers. So now the next thing is, I think, an important node. I think they're all important. You're probably going to hear me say that throughout the whole video. It's a filter one, but basically if there is no phone number, this will stop and it won't make a call or waste any of the time. So now we paste in the phone number, this expression right here, and then we just say if something exists, this is done. So this is how it's going to look when you actually have information in there. So essentially what you have is if there is a phone number and it exists, keep this information going through. So that's what it's doing. So now here is the next thing. And I think this actually is the most important one. All right. So I'm going to say that all the time, but this actually is the most important one. And the reason I say that is this is going to format the phone number in the way you need it to work. So without this, none of the other nodes will work. Now, that is not said for the other ones. Some of them, if you don't have it, you can create workarounds. But without having the phone number in the right way, it's not going to work. So now we have the formatted number, which means the number is going to be changed to the format of Vapy AI. And then you want to copy this in there. And this is the expression you're going to see. So basically you're saying add a +1 to the phone number and replace any of the parentheses or any other information with no information. So let me show you what's going to happen with that. So what's going to happen is we have a phone number here on the left that has parentheses and no +1. When this comes through, it's processed, and now we have a phone number that has a +1 with the phone number with no parentheses or anything. So that's why I think it's one of the, or if not the most important one. Now here's the next node. The next node is going to be a loop. So now this is important to talk through right now, right? And so what's happening here is we have 20 pieces of information that come through. So now let's talk through this real quick. I want to show you what's happening with this workflow. We have 20 pieces of information coming through right here. If we see, I don't know why it keeps doing that, but we see we have 19 items passing through right here. That information gets sent to the loop, and now we have one that goes through. So what's going to happen with this loop is it's going to keep running through this entire system until it's gone through the 19 or it hits an error. All right. So that's why this is a good information to go through. You can change this to say pass through 2 or 3. But on this, since you only have one phone number, you only need to pass through 1. So now this is completed. And now we can move to the next node. And if all of them were important, this is one of the most important ones. And I say that because it's an HTTP node. And this HTTP node is actually what we're going to call. This is what is going to call the phone number, and it's going to be how we set up the Vapy. All right, so now I'm going to go back and forth, and I want to show you how to make this first, and then I'm going to show you how to make it in Vapy. And so now I'm going to go halfway through this, and then I'm going to show you how I built it in Vapy, and then we'll work through the body. So first, let's talk through the authentication. The first thing this needs to be So first, let's talk to the authentication. So for the authentication, the first thing we need to do is the method needs to be a post method. All right. So we're posting some information, and that information is the phone call. The URL that we're going to use is this URL right here. It's https://api.vapy.ai/call. Now, we don't need an authentication because we're going to use the header for authentication. So we can open this back up and send the header. Now, in sending the header, the first thing we need to do is we need to send the name is going to be the authorization. And then the API key is going to be the value. Except what we need to do is we need to put bearer space your API key. And so now it's important to know, I want to go to the Vapy dashboard, and this is going to be linked in the description below. But this was driving me crazy because I don't know which one to use. You can use a private key or you can use a public key. So I want to tell you to copy your private key. So copy this private key, just press copy and then bring that in and then paste it right here. So bearer space your API key, your private API key, and that will work. Now, that's not 100% complete. So we need to add one more parameter. The next parameter needs to be the content and type and the application and JSON. So this is how it needs to look. Now we have the authentication set up. So now we need, as I mentioned before, we have the ability to make the calls. We need the calls to Vapy. We can link into that tunnel. We can talk to the website. Now we need to tell the website to work for us. So we need to send the body. So now the body is going to be sent, and we need to use JSON. So now we need to open up the JSON. We're going to be using the specific body as a JSON type. And once we do that, I want to open this up. And this is what the expression is going to look like inside of that. But I want to pull over my workflow that I've worked through already and show you what's actually happening, right? So this is important to know. So we have the phone number and ID, and I'll explain how to get this and how to put this in there. We have the assistant ID, and I'll explain this right here. And then we have the customer number. And now let's explain what's happening here. We're taking that formatted number right here, and we're just going to drop it right there. Now, obviously, I don't want to do that because I don't need two of them. But if we look to the right, this is what is actually being passed through. So now we take that positive phone number and it's going through. Now, remember, I told you this is fixed. So these pieces of information are not changing. So if you were to do a dynamic method of switching this up, you would have to change these for every phone number you were to use. So now I want to go into the Vapy website. So now let's explain how to get this phone number ID, and I'm going to show you how to paste it in there. So when I go to the Vapy website, I want to go to the phone number. And then when I go to my phone number right here, there's two ways you can do this. You can copy the phone number ID right here at the top, or you can go to the top of your URL, and anything past the / is what you can copy. So I can copy this, and then I can go back into my workflow, and I can go into my phone number ID, and I'm going to paste it at the bottom so you can see it's the same. So now you see this is the same as this one right here, and we have that ID set up. So the next thing is the assistant ID. And if you figured it out, it's going to be the same method. I go to assistants, and then I go to the right here. I have an assistant. Now this is the assistant that I use for this workflow. So what I can do is I can copy it here, or I can copy this right here at the URL. It doesn't matter. They're the same. So if I copy this and I go back into here, and then I paste it at the bottom, now I have the same thing right there. So this is how you need to set this up so it could work. Now, once we do that, it's completed. This will make the phone calls for you. But there are some important things we need to set up in Vapy before we do that. So now I've set up this agent. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a new assistant. I want to show you from scratch how to create that assistant. You can create your assistant and you can follow the steps to copy this in. But now I want to show you how to create a new assistant. So now I want to create assistant, and you have a few services here you can do. So if there's one you already know, you can just take these and you can put it in there. Then you can modify it and we'll make it work for you. But since I don't, I'm going to change this name. I'm going to name it Sales Video. And now we're going to start from scratch. Create assistant. So now with this completed, we have the sales video. And now what we need to do is we need to set up this first message. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go into OpenAI. I want to make sure I have a good model. And I'm going to tell it, you are an expert sales person that specializes in cold calls and landing meetings to close deals. You work on Vapy and are setting up a cold call agent. Provide a direct, concise, what is it called? first message. Now, this is where I thought it could be improved. That asks for the person's name, and is highly personable. Now, this will create that one. And so now this will create a nice little sentence. I think that's pretty good. We can take this and we can copy this into the Vapy, and we can paste it right here. Now, one of the important things I want to mention is assistant speaks first. This is very important. If you keep it like this, what happens is as soon as someone picks up, the AI starts talking. So that's a 100% sign that this is an AI. It doesn't feel natural. So what you should do is you should change this to wait for a user to speak. So what happens is if you don't say anything, the AI is not going to say anything. And so then it's going to wait, and it sounds a little more natural. Now with this complete, I'm going to go back to the OpenAI, and then I'm going to put now create a very detailed prompt for Vapy. Let's go back and put very detailed system prompt for Vapy, and to create a cold call salesperson. Now, here's a highly detailed version. I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to name it because I forgot the company name. The company name is Bior.ai. Now, this is Bior.ai. This is the company that I founded. And so I co-founded. And so I'm going to add this in here. And we do AI automation. So obviously, this is what we do. And so now we have a highly customizable AI salesperson for our company. Now, one thing you can do is you can just redo this one more time with no emojis. Now, this will be better just because the emojis are annoying and you don't want it to use your credits when you don't have to. All right, so now we have this all done. I'm going to copy this in. Obviously, you would want to read it before you publish it, but I'm going to copy this in, and this will be good to go. I trust this AI. I've done it enough where it gets pretty close. So now this is completed. Now, some of the things as we build this out, specify files. Now, what this means is if you have specific files that you needed to reference, you can add it here. So if you have your own company products, if you have your own information, you can add it, and simply all you're doing is click select, add a new file, and you can add those files. Pretty easy. Maximum tokens, 250 is enough. I always bring this up to 500 and it works. 5 as the temperature means it's going to be pretty stable. It's good. Not a big deal. We're good to go. Here's some of the cool things you can do. You can configure the voice. You can change it to a different person. Now, if you do have a different voice generation system, you can use one of those. It has 11 labs. It has Remy AI and all these different AI systems you can use. I'm going to keep it with Vapy. And now additional configurations. Here's something that's pretty cool. You can add in background noise. So you can have your own background noise if you have some. You can also add office noise. So this one I'll put office noise. And this is actually pretty cool because you can hear things in the background and it sounds like something's real. A transcriber, it's going to transcribe automatically, confidence, and here's where you can turn off the noise. So this has the noise filtering off so you won't capture that background noise. Some of the tools you don't need to worry about for this, but this is how you would integrate it into the other automation tools. functions, all of this down here does not matter towards what you're building out. You can also access this right here across the top. So if I click the top, it will take me back up. If I click the bottom, this takes me to the bottom. So now this is completed. I showed you how to get this. I showed you how to set it up. And now this is prepared to go. This is ready to go and it's working. Now to set this up, the next thing we need to do is we need to set up an HTTP node. So now this HTTP node is going to be the HTTP node that's going to check to see if there's the transcript is posted yet. So this needs to be a get node. The get node is going to be a dynamic get node, which means it's going to get the ID of, which means it's going to get the Vapy ID. Which means it's going to be the, which means it's going to get the Vapy ID for the call, and it's going to return that information for you. Now, again, we're going to set this up the same way. We need to send a header. The header is going to be the authorization. And the value is going to be bearer again with the space and that same API key. With this complete, that's all you need to do. And it's going to see if there's any information there. And if there is or not, it's going to process the next thing. And that next thing is going to say it's an if node. So the next one is going to be an if node. And this if node is going to say, if something is there, which is the transcript, process that information. If the transcript is not there, then go back and look to see when it is processed. Because when it is processed, that means the call has ended and we can move to the next phase. So that's basically what's happening here. So now let's talk through that. We're going to talk through that and how this is working, right? So now what has just happened is the call ended. It's checked that there is a transcript or not. And now it's going to the if. If it So now it's checked for a transcript. And so now if there is no transcript, that means the call has not ended. So that means it's false and it's going to go back through. Once it goes back through, it'll check everything over again. And if it keeps doing, it will keep doing that until they hit a true. And the true means a transcript has posted. That means the phone call is over. So now move to the next node. And the next node is a Google Sheet. And so what this is going to do is it's going to update all of our information from the call. So now we need this to be an update or append. And so essentially what I did for this was to connect your Google Sheet. You can do all that. We need to update and append this to the call lead gen, which is going to be the next columns over here, J, K, L, M, and N. So if we see here, all of this information was updated from this last one we did. So we go down, we have call, lead gen, and then we have sheet 1. And now we have to match this to something. So what I matched it to was the company name. I figured there wouldn't be many company names that were the same. And although this can be true, I'm highly doubtful that it's going to be in the same area. So I think that would be a decent thing we could do. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say call status is going to be here. So now we need to know if the call ended and how it ended. We need to gather the transcript. So now this is going to be the transcript of the phone call. And what we can do is the last thing is a summary of the call. So now here's a summary of the call. So now here's a couple of things. So the transcript, this is very important because in the future, if we do have analysis saying this is a good call and they want us to follow up, we can review this, we can use AI, and we can have a better system of how we can close this deal. And the same goes for the summary. So that's why I think those are very good, important topics to cover. Now with this completed, we do need to add some wait nodes. So the first wait node we need to do is we need to add a wait node before we start all over with the phone call. So I'm going to wait 5, and instead of 5 seconds, it's going to be 5 minutes. And what's going to happen is this is going to say every 5 minutes, once this is completed, it will sit here for 5 minutes, and it's going to go back out to the beginning. So that means it's going to go back out and start at the loop. What this needs to change to is the if needs to come out, and this if needs to go back in here. So what happens is it only needs to check if there's a transcript. So if there is a transcript, it can keep checking it. Now, what needs to happen here is if we do this, what can happen is we can hit a rate limit. So this is why these weights are very important. So I'm going to click this plus, I'm going to click this wait. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a wait for this. Now this can be less, but what I would do is I would do this every 15 seconds because a phone call doesn't last very long. And so what happens is if the phone call hasn't ended, wait 15 seconds and then process the next one. And you keep doing that and wait 15 seconds again, because if you don't, what happens is it hits the API too fast. And this is going to drop you off the network. It's not going to let you work. The same goes here. If you go all the way around, it's going to be processed so fast that one of these nodes and services are going to kick you off their network. So that's why these are very important. Again, there are areas. So again, there are areas to update this. There are areas to make this better and to kind of modify this. I wanted to provide you the framework for how this worked, and then you can execute it and modify how it goes. Or, as always, leave a comment below and let me work on it for you. This took me about a week to do for one of the comments. So if you give me about a week, I can knock this out for you. And I think this is very useful. If you do find value in this video, please like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Join my communities linked in the description below. Thanks. I'm the Data Doc. Take care. Bye-bye.